for Novel Night. We are so excited to present these authors to you this evening. You may have noticed they both have books, which are both available this evening. They're going to be on the big table over there in the back. Please feel free to check those out. We've got snacks for you. Help yourselves to those at any point during the evening. And I'll go ahead and get started announcing our first reader. Our first reader is Bennett Donovan. He's the author of the novel Devil's Sinkhole. He works as a director in the nonprofit division of the San Francisco tech giant Salesforce. Welcome, Bennett.
Thank you. This is a great opportunity. I'm very thankful to Malvern Books for making this a possibility. And it's a privilege to talk to you about my book, Devil's Sinkhole. I'm going to give a little meta-narrative. I'm going to read 3 very short passages and give you an idea of the book. It starts with our 2 protagonists named Connor and Emma. Connor is a poet. Connor is obsessed with the idea of shaping perception and reality through words. He is in search of that perfect metaphor, that perfect phrase that'll be like a bolt of lightning, right through the brain of somebody who reads it. And he believes that actually through words you can shape reality. And in that sense, he's a bit of a relativist. He thinks that truth is kind of ideated through thought, and that's where he's coming from. He lives near campus. He sort of slacker. His old bungalow's got termites in it, and he probably worked at Thundercloud at some point. Our other protagonist is named Emma, and she lives down on South Lamar, and she's in tech, and she very intelligent, but she deals with a lot of social anxiety, and she's dark and sarcastic, but more bohemian than goth, and she's quite the contrast to Connor, in that she believes that truth is out there to be found, and she loves to paint. And because of her social anxiety, she likes to get into nature on her own, hike along the creeks and rivers, paint, and she's looking for that painting, like an O'Keeffe, like Van Gogh's Starry Night, where she thinks that she's captured the truth behind the image. And so they meet at a party on North Loop, and they start their conversation by debating the merits of different breakfast tacos and arguing over breakfast tacos, an Austin theme. And this idea of the 2 concepts of how you find truth and how you determine truth, they're going to play off each other throughout the story. So my first passage, I've got 3 short passages. My first one is at the party. They've been talking a while, and an acquaintance of Emma comes up, and her social anxiety kind of kicks in. "Emma," a booming voice rang out. "What is up, woman? We're going to Magnolia. Tanner and Amber are waiting in the car." Kyle Howell was a work colleague. He had a lacrosse stick in his cube, along with a collection of pint glasses that said, "It's beer o'clock." He took 4 cigarette breaks a day, standing outside glass doors in 100-degree heat, explaining the nuances of hotel points to captive bystanders. Swaying dizzily in front of Emma and Connor, he blended frat boy and cage fighter. His mauve twill shorts complemented the deep blue of his Affliction t-shirt. The shirt was at least 1 size too small, showcasing chiseled biceps and a tribal armband tattoo. His gelled hair glistened under the white lights. "Hey, Kyle," Emma answered flatly. These were the situations she hated. Center of attention. Multiple people looking at her, expecting something from her. She had no chance to please both of them. Why was it so different than a one-on-one conversation? Why did the arrival of a single idiot acquaintance turn a comfortable chat into a command performance complete with stage fright? Was it as primal as being outnumbered? Her palms went cold and moist. Her lower lip quivered. She didn't have time to put up with this self-inflicted garbage. She got up and walked off. "Oh well, brah, guess that's the end of that," Kyle beamed, taking consolation in sabotaging Connor. Ice-cold man late. Connor slumped down into the rusty lawn chair. So they do meet up again after she walks away. She taps him on the shoulder as he's walking out. And they go to Starseeds Cafe on I-35, finish their conversation. I'm a fan of Linklater and Malick. The first 3 chapters of this is like my dinner with Andre. A little ponderous, a little deep, very philosophical. Nietzsche shows up, Proust shows up, but That's what I like to do. I'm kind of like the Malik voiceover in the book. But they, she, at the end of their meeting at Starseed, she surprises herself by saying to him, "Do you want to go on an adventure?" And he says yes, and he has no idea what it is. And he finds out later that they're going to go to the hill country, they're going to go to Rock Springs, they're going to go to the Devil's Sinkhole, they're going to drop acid, and they're going to watch bats fly out of the sinkhole at sunset. So that's when the book kind of turns from My Dinner with Andre into Thelma and Louise, because now they're out on the road in the hill country. They run into an annoying Canadian tourist. At the height of their acid trip, he falls into the sinkhole and dies. And now the line between what's real and what's imagined begins to get really blurry. They don't know if they were involved. They don't know if they are responsible. They don't have a clear recollection of it. So they argue about what to do next. Nobody really knows they're there. They can escape if they want. And they go back to the motel room and they think about what is their next move. And Emma, she wants to run. She doesn't want to talk to any authorities. She wants to get out to get back to Austin. And while she's in the bathroom in the motel room, Connor is sitting on the bed imagining the scenarios that could play out. And 3 different scenarios go through his mind. So the second passage is him thinking about what could come out of this. He moved back down to the foot of the bed. 3 potential plot lines flashed through his mind, fragmented and overlapping, as if 3 vintage projectors were simultaneously showing scratched footage on the same warped screen. Inside a dingy interrogation room, dying for a glass of water, he was telling the whole story to a small-town detective, angling for the case of a lifetime. Where was that public defender they said was coming? Now a state trooper was staring down at him through a driver's side window. The wide tan brim, the blue epaulets, the gold name tag proclaiming Officer P. Hardin, straight from central casting, jaw like an anvil, polygraph eyes. Emma was quivering in the back seat. Step outside the vehicle, sir. We're driving off-road through the desert, down to their last gallon of gas, their last bottle of water, stopping the car and holding their breath as a helicopter crossed the horizon. They should have found the highway by now. What was their next move? The water was still running in the bathroom. Connor felt time collapsing in on him. None of the narratives was coming to the forefront. None seemed like the best option. The water shut off. There was another choice, one that existed on a different plane entirely. He could always choose her. Emma burst through the bathroom door. She had washed her face and put her ball cap back on. Her eyes flashed with steely determination. I'm leaving now. What's it going to be? You distract the owner, he answered. I'll grab the registry. So now they're on the run. The chase is happening, and they get separated. And now this idea, they never knew what happened in the first place. They never were sure if they were accountable or not for the tragedy. And now that they're separated, they had never agreed on a story either. So we've got the 2 dynamics of uncertainty, what actually happened and what the other one is going to say happened. The authorities show up, people get lost, things get dire. They end up, one of them ends up in the cave as well. And lives are put at risk. So I'm not going to spoil the end. It is kind of a mystery and a thriller. Kirkus Reviews called it a philosophical thriller, new genre, hopefully. But I will read one more passage. It's actually my favorite passage. Connor is having a near-death experience, and he's thinking back on the happiest time in his life. And he realizes that it was when he was a child. And here I get to be the omniscient narrator, commenting on why. And this was actually a moving paragraph for me to write because it, is very personal, and it is my favorite paragraph. When you're a child, you live in the world. The family dog, the backyard willow tree, the swallows who return each spring to build their nests in the eaves of the carport. They are as much a part of your identity as the birthmark above your knee or the sound of your own voice. Their existence is not other, but rather part of your own, infinitely wondrous and deep. Until that tragic day, you realize that growing up and joining the real world means separating yourself from the actual world. The infrastructure of isolation takes hold of you. The church teaches you that only humans exist in God's image. The economy reduces nature to a profane object, valuable only to the extent that it can be bought and sold. Popular culture worships the individual, never the whole. Everything about maturing leads to alienation, so that when we call to mind the happiest times of our lives, we inevitably look back upon childhood, when the barn swallows kept us company beneath the carport, fireflies sparkled in the jars by the bedpost, and the embrace of a girl was the embrace of the entire universe. I won't give away the end, but I really enjoyed it. It was a DIY project all the way. I've got a doctorate in medieval history. I've read more books than I can count, and I'm like, maybe I can write one. And I do have a full-time job. It's a demanding job. It took 4 years to get 130 pages out. 3 of those years was editing, and trying to polish that thing to as much of a gem as I could. And just thankful for the support and everyone who's come out today, and hope you take a look at the book. Thanks so much.